Hello and welcome to this video tutorial by me, Nikki, founder of Studio Hoym, which stands for Here's One I Made Earlier. Today we're making a macrame dog lead. So to start, you're going to need a tape measure, a clipboard or somewhere to clip your macrame project to whilst you're working on it, a really good pair of scissors, a snap hook or clip, and macrame cord in 5mm thickness. Now I always use braided cord because it's much better quality and you'll find that it won't unravel as you're working with it. So there's a simple calculation to do when calculating how much macrame cord you'll need, and in this example we're creating a 1.5 metre, that's 150 centimetre length lead. It's also worth noting that that 150 centimetres includes the full length of the handle, so including the bit that's folded over on itself. All you need to do is multiply the length of the lead that you require by 6. You then need 2 lengths at that length. So for my example of a 1.5 metre lead, I need 2 lengths at 9 metres. Then you need an extra 1 metre length cord, and we use that at the end to tie everything off. So we'll start by taking one of the 9 metre length cords. We then want to measure 150 centimetres, so the length that our lead will be. This is the point where we're going to make a lark's head knot and attach the macrame cord to the snap hook. At that 150 centimetre point, make a loop. You feed that through the ring on the snap hook and then pull your cord, both lengths, the short length and the long length, through the loop you've just made. And this can take a little while because 9 metres is a long length to be pulling through. Once both ends are through, pull tightly so it closes the loop. So now you'll have 2 lengths coming from the snap hook, one which is approximately 1.5 metres and the other which is approximately 7.5 metres. Working with longer lengths of cord can be really laborious and boring. So I recommend getting a piece of card or a reel and winding the longer length around that just for now. Trust me, this is going to make your life a lot easier. You're going to repeat this process with the other 9 metre length cord, but it's important to note that you want the 2 smaller or shorter lengths of cord to be in the middle. So there's going to be 4 strands coming from that snap hook, and we want the 2 shorter ones in the middle. So you can either use a tape measure to measure 1.5 metres, or you can use the length that we've just created, the shorter one, to measure out the same length on the other side, which is what I'm doing here. So again, we're making a lark's head knot on the other side of the clip, making sure the 2 shorter lengths are on the inside. And it's also important to ensure that the lark's head knot is facing the same way. So once you've pulled the second lark's head knot through, just pull them really tightly, and they should be matching. So this is what I mean by facing the same way. Again, ensuring that the shorter lengths are in the middle of the 4 strands. So again, we're going to repeat the process by winding the longer length around a piece of card or reel. I like to use a clipboard just to keep everything still whilst I'm working on it. Those 2 middle shorter cords are always going to remain in the middle, and you want to keep them as taut as possible. Our macrame lead is made up of square knots. To do this, take the left hand cord and place it over the 2 middle cords. Take the right hand cord, it goes over that left cord, under the 2 middle strands and then under the left cord again through the loop you've just created with it, and then pull, remembering to pull those 2 middle cords tight as you go. This is a technique that just comes easier the more you do it. So I'm pulling tight and I'm pulling the middle 2 strands tight as well. Then you repeat the process on the other side. So this time the right hand cord goes over the 2 middle strands, the left hand goes over that one, underneath the 2 strands and up through the loop you've just created. And again you're pulling tight all the way up to the top. Once this knot is tight, that is 1 square knot complete. Then you just keep repeating this on either side in sequence. It takes a while, but soon enough you'll get into a rhythm with it. You'll see it creates almost a ladder pattern. You'll see there are loops that form on either side, working their way down the ladder. And if you ever lose track, the loop that's nearest the bottom is the side that you start with next. So we're going to be doing this almost the entire length of the lead. So what I like to do is put something on Netflix, or put a podcast or some music on and let my mind be free from the day-to-day norm. Now, for the sake of this tutorial, I'm going to speed this up a bit so it doesn't take too long. But this takes a while to master, so feel free to pause, rewind and keep looking back through the first steps, and as many times until you feel like you've got it. In my experience, generally it takes people quite a while to get this, so please don't beat yourself up and please don't get frustrated if you don't get it straight away. You will. Keep persevering. You keep going with these square knots until you get to the point where the 2 shorter lengths in the middle reach about 45 centimetres. And when you fold the ends over, you should see that there's just about the right size for a handle, plus an extra 10 centimetres. You then want to take your tape measure and measure 5 centimetres from the point where you stopped at your last knot. All we're doing is creating a 5 centimetre gap for the end of the handle to attach to. So after the 5 centimetres, start your square knots again by pulling it taut and leave that 5 centimetre gap. You're then going to continue creating your square knot strand almost until you get to the end. The first knot after you leave a gap is always a little bit tricky to keep taut, but just keep remembering to pull those middle strands tight. And again, for the purpose of this tutorial, I'm going to speed things up a bit. Okay, so once you've created your handle and you've got about 10 centimetres left on the shortest strand, we're going to fold the handle in half and we're going to put the 2 middle strands at the end through the middle of the gap we created. Pull the ends through so the start and the end of the handle are aligned. Turn the whole thing over and clip the whole handle down so that it's secure. This bit is quite tricky, but essentially we're creating a square knot just like we've been doing the whole time, but around all of the strings on this central part. Again, be sure to keep pulling everything really tight. Now, I didn't leave myself 10 centimetres, so I'm struggling here, but essentially all you need is to do this a couple of times just to secure it in place. We're going to actually wrap tight around the whole thing, so it doesn't really matter how it looks at this point. Once you've done this as many times as the ends of your strands will allow, we're going to move on to use that 1 metre length of cord that we've set aside to tie off the whole thing. So to tie off, we're going to use a wrap knot. So we're going to take one end of that 1 metre cord and create a loop, as you can see here. Using your thumb to hold this in place, we're going to use the other hand to wrap upwards the rest of the cord around so that it covers that gap that we created before. Every time you wrap the cord around, pull it ultra tight and make sure each wrap is really, really close together. Work the whole way up until you reach the part where the two ends of the handle meet. Make sure you pull it really tightly, and then when you're ready, put the end that you've just been wrapping through the loop that you made earlier. And then you want to pull the end of that loop at the bottom to close that loop around the strand you've just put through it. You may have to pull on a few strands to figure out which one is the end. When you pull on it, that loop gets tighter and the loop wants to disappear underneath the wrap that you've just created, and that's exactly what we want. Once that loop has disappeared underneath the wrap and you've pulled it as tight as you possibly can, it's time to cut off all of the strands as close to that wrap as possible. If you have any straggly ends that you can't cut off because they're too short, you just use the end of your scissors to tuck them underneath the wrap. And that's about it. You're done. You've created a macrame pet bead for yourself. Just remember that before you use it on any animal, just test it out by pulling the handle, pulling the clip, and really put it under some pressure, just so that you know that you're going to be safe when you're out and about with your furry friend. Above all, I really hope you've enjoyed the process and perhaps it's the start of a new hobby. Thank you for joining me on this tutorial, and I hope to see you on the next one.